You have so many children by now. You have no fucking clue. And if you're unaware that you're creating children, mind children, thought forms, they are little bits of consciousness, such as you have cellular memory. Your cellular memory does not have the complexity to say that I exist, I feel like this, I am alive. It might only have the consciousness of this is what I'm feeling the urge to do to keep myself alive. I feel the urge to consume this nourishment. I feel the urge to secrete this hormone, so I attract that nourishment. I feel the urge to heat up or cool down to match my surroundings. So it does have a consciousness, but it doesn't have a consciousness in the way that you imagine a self. You've created so many of those children. They are your children because they carry a part of you. They carry a part of your conscious intention. Out of the everythingness of Source, you are a specific individuation. You did have an original intention to experience a segment of reality. I'm unusually drawn to sexuality. That's going to be my thing for the rest of my life, and it has been my thing since yay high. And it ties in with a lot of my parallel selves. I have memories from different versions of myself that are also in different areas dealing with sexuality. Some people are completely leaving that part out of their own realities, out of their own lives, not necessarily suppressing. There are people who are just genuinely asexual and couldn't give a fuck about it. I'm never going to be like them. They are never going to be like me. So we do have an original intention. Which part of existence are we more interested in? Do we want to experience more? So your mind children, your creations, are your children in the sense that they have the same intention. How do they want to experience themselves? How do they want to show up? And when you don't even know that you're creating children, you're creating abandoned children. On an astral realm, those forms of consciousness, they're floating around without parents, without care. And so when beings are, when they have the vision for it, when they live on those realms, in those realities, they can just spot the tourists. They are like, free-floating consciousness. You look like you need a little bit of help here. You look a bit lost. And they take over. That's what energy siphoning is. It's not just that somebody is literally hanging over your field and sucking free-floating quanta out of you. It's that we are so unaware of how powerful we are that we create left and right, and we just leave those creations hanging because we are so completely oblivious to the fact that we've just saturated a different dimension with our thoughts and prayers and wants and wishes. That's how manifestation works. That's how the law of attraction works, which is totally distorted, but anyway. That when you revisit a thought, when you put more and more energy into a relationship, then it has enough quanta to turn from an ethereal, astral, or even higher up level of reality to a more and more dense reality, which at some point manifests out pictures as physical matter. This is just as much a vibrational reality as your astral field. It just has a different palpable experience. When you're dreaming, that's when you're visiting astral realms as well. Things feel, smell, taste, look very real. because there is a part of your consciousness that perceives on the same level as your dream reality. Your consciousness, when it's stationed in D3, upper D3, D3 and a half, then you are experiencing your D2 level of reality, your elemental and emotional reality, as solid. When your consciousness is stationed in a different band of reality, a different layer of reality, such as dream states, then you experience the same matter density as physical reality. You can touch things, you can experience and sense things that are just dream material, and they look and feel solid to your perception. Same thing to beings who look at your thought children and be like, free food. They do take over that free food. So that's how the porn industry works. That's how Hollywood works. That's how the music industry works. That's how advertising works. Oh my God, how many times you just went jealousy or the sense of urges that I want that. Even the slightest thought genuinely creates realities. It's a very weak thought form. It's just a little cell cluster instead of a fully grown baby. It's the beginning, the little sprout of something that you would call a being. But for other life forms, they are like, oh, sprout, sprout, sprout. That's why we're living at the very last stages of psychological warfare, because you've inverted the inversion. The very core of those teachings is separation. If you genuinely believe that being at one is the annihilation of your ego, the annihilation of your consciousness. And there's so many plant medicine practices, yogic practices, tantric practices that talk about ego death. Even simple meditational practices. It's like you sit in stillness, peace and quiet, and at some point your ego just melts away and you get to shut out into outer space. Or the people who are very heavy on plant medicine, even ayahuasca, they're not good. They are external technologies that, instead of giving you the feeling of you are anything and everything, even with plant medicine, if you really listen to what the message of plant medicine is that for a second, you get to be that. And as soon as you're not high, you're not worthy. You're nobody. So you get to take the next one and the next one and the next one. It just builds dependence. It doesn't actually teach you who you really are. It doesn't remind you how to create. It just dangles the carrot in front of you that might be possible, I guess, but not for you. And so the left-hand path teachings are about the deification of the self through usually some form of sexual magic, where you are striving for immortal states. Instead of merging, instead of melting the differentiations between your own layers of consciousness, you are encapsulating your consciousness, protecting it, and turning it so strong that no external force can hurt you or harm you. So your individuality is now outwitting death, and you become bigger than death, higher than God, more supreme than nature. Instead of dying, you get to live in this mortal form seemingly forever. Now that hasn't happened in a very long time. So that's not the way to do it. And I mean, when you do merge your biofield, you do have the choice to come back. You do have the option to re-manifest in this body. But because this place is so fogged up, not many of us want to come back once you get out. Because you're like, I got out once, I'm not risking it again. That's why I'm big on your privacy, because when there is a third form of consciousness, and in this case there is, then energy works on such a subtle level that I've chosen a fairly public life, in a sense that I'm going to share a lot of things about myself, about my life publicly that not a lot of people want to share. And even though this is a private group, there is a record. There is a memory of what you said, what you expressed. There's also an energetic record, but especially if your face, your likeness, your imprint is recorded digitally, then whoever has a record of that. And it's not just the file itself, it's also every bit of artificial intelligence, every node, every middleman that this information goes through. We have a record of it. And just because today we're not capable of mining data at that depth, at that level, at some point in the future we will be capable. So be very, very mindful of what you record, how you put yourself out there, what kind of pictures you take, what kind of videos you take, how you show up, how you present yourself, because that record is a doorway to your consciousness, to your being. There's scalar technologies out there that can just take a picture of yourself, or you give them a picture of yourself, and they supposedly heal you, but they start tinkering with your DNA template. So just be very, very mindful how you present yourself, what you put out there. And somehow, let's figure it out, how to get back to personal, one-on-one, group-to-group meetings, because there's nothing more powerful than that.